Hey everybody, Mr. B here, and welcome to the Loft. Doing some holiday baking today, and in my family that means this spiced apple cake that I'm about to show you. This girl has been around for a while and has got a story to tell. Stick around. We are going to start, you will not believe how simple this cake is. It is really just a kind of a dump and go situation. We are going to start with 2 cups of granulated sugar in our bowl. Obviously, where else would you put it? Don't you hate it when that happens right there? Right? I've got to open another bag of sugar. Super fun. All right, where were we? Topping off our granulated sugar. There we are. To our sugar, we're gonna add 3 eggs. I do mine at room temperature, but you know what? It's really not that darn fussy. We are going to add 2 4-ounce sizes of no sugar added applesauce. And frankly, just because I don't feel right if I don't do it, let's do a dash of vanilla up in here. Now for the spice. I got a teaspoon each of ground clove and ground cinnamon. What we're gonna do, 1 cup of vegetable oil. I've got 2 cups of all-purpose flour. You can use self-rising, and I'm gonna add what is basically going to be the equivalent of 2 teaspoons of baking soda to this to give it the, you know, the science. And I'm going to sift this together. And anytime you're using flour, please be sure to get it absolutely everywhere. It should be all over you. It should be all over the ceiling. Should be all over the floor. And now we're going to beat the shit out of it. Carefully. Stopping periodically to scrape down the sides and make as much mess as possible. Y'all remember what I said about mess, right? Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold in 1 cup of nuts of your choice. Typically we're doing a walnut or a pecan mixture. And you're just going to fold or stir this in and mix to just incorporate this. And that, kids, is the cake batter. Now this batter will typically yield 1 tube pan or like a bundt pan, or 2 traditional loaf pans. But I'm giving these as gifts. So what I've got here are these small little loaf tins, and I've sprayed and lined them, obviously. And I'm gonna hopefully maybe get 4 of these is the goal anyway. Carefully. Now I'm going to try to give everything just a light couple of taps here. But these are very thin loaf pans, so I'm being careful here. And now we are going to go into 350 degree oven right there for 50 to 60 minutes is the recipe, but because these are small containers, smaller, I'm going to go with 50 minutes, but I'm probably going to be checking it at 40. So this cake, I have no idea where my mom found this recipe, but she did it for decades and decades and decades. And in its original form, it was a plum cake. We didn't call it spice, or anything like that. And to make it a plum cake, she used Gerber plum baby food. Well, in Gerber's infinite wisdom, I guess, somewhere along the way, they stopped making this baby food. So, what do? So she began to try everything. Jams, stewed plums, prunes, to try to get this thing to work. And every time she would, attempt to adjust it, the cake would collapse, it'd come out as a brick, it just walked it all off. So during COVID, I got the idea to try this cake, this recipe, with no sugar added, applesauce, same ounce for ounce that the recipe called for the plum baby food that we can't find. And it came out great. It's still different. It's not the original, but if you squint your eyes, it gets you there. This is a holiday, this cake, this flavor is it's a memory trigger, okay, for me and for most of my family. It is within the vernacular. This was one of the cakes that was the most requested my mom made during the holidays for extended family. My dad's mother in particular loved this cake, and because she was a stroke survivor and, not to get dark, but paralyzed on her left side for the last 20 years, before we would leave, she would have my mom slice it up, wrap it up into some wax paper, and freeze it, and she could just go pull, with her good arm, as she would say, just go pull a piece out of the freezer, let it thaw, and she can have it with her coffee, which is what makes this cake so incredible. You can have it for breakfast with a cup of coffee. You can have it for your afternoon tea. It's a great brunch cake. This is not, it's sweet, I'm not gonna lie, but it isn't like, some chocolate molten lava kind of thing going on and that level of richness. I personally think you could do these in muffin tins and you could have them as breakfast muffins. Like I said, we do often during the holidays when you're in a rush, cut a slice of this in the morning with your coffee, and it's freaking amazing. Anyway, that's the story of this old girl, and she is near and dear to my heart, and I will continue to play around with this recipe in hopes that I can get it even closer to what the original actually was. Or Gerber baby food, if you're listening, or whoever owns you today, give me back my plum baby food. That is our 50-minute mark. So I'm going to, do the old proverbial, stay in the glasses, proverbial toothpick test. Looking awfully good. I'm going to call that done. Now, we are going to let these cool for about 20 minutes. In fact, I'm going to set a timer for that. And then we're going to glaze them while they're still warm so that that glaze can kind of get down in there. I'll show you how that works. Then they will cool completely down and you turn them out. While the cakes are kind of beginning their cool down process, I'm going to go ahead and whip up this glaze real quick. And, from a recipe perspective, 1 cup of confectioner sugar to the juice of 1 lemon is good for 1 cake. And I'm just going to eyeball this, though, because I hate to measure confectioner sugar. And what? God forbid you have extra glaze? Give me a break. I'm just going to kind of whisk this together to incorporate it. All right, let's go glaze these cakes. Okay, so I've decided I am going to go ahead and turn these out onto a cooling rack. So kind of remember that Mom usually, because she does this in a 2-pan, will actually, you know, turn it out before she glazes. Okay, there's going to be one. Careful. Handle these too much. Really only need 3 gifts to give, so kind of have made an extra one on purpose. And what I will do is just wrap them up in some clear plastic. Now, okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to poke some holes with my Insta read thermometer carefully. And now I'm going to drizzle glaze. Once the glaze sets, because you're doing this while the cake is still warm, you know, there's going to be some runnage, okay? But also, it's going to be, it's not going to stay as white as you see here. It's going to, you know, just kind of sort of be clear and sticky. Guys, there you have it. This is the family recipe apple spice cake, formerly known as plum cake. Get your act together, baby food company people. Because they're gifts, I can't, you know, cut them, but trust me, kids, you can't go wrong with it. Hope you enjoyed this. Click like, hit subscribe, come along for the ride, and we will see you next time. Cheers. Since we can't get the damn baby food plums,